performance measures for schools. But looking at it, and I've checked with a few colleagues, like there's actually really nothing that's very specific to schools about it. And I think knowing all of you and the types of estates and buildings that you have, actually this is as relevant for you all. What I really like about it is it kind of breaks down measures into categories that I think make it easier to kind of understand and look at understand the kind of range of types of interventions that are out there. What I've put on screen is you can see those 5 different types of interventions that that are covered in the compendium. And then what's on the right hand side of the screen is an example of how they then break down further. So under section A, which is on sustainable urban drainage systems, they then break down more detailed examples of SUDs. And in this example, you can see it's kind of got it's got some images of what it might look like. It's got a kind of quite easily accessible sketch of what it involves and a description. And then on the very right side, it has a little bit more information. So what are the climate risks that are addressed? It puts in maintenance and requirements. It talks about co-benefits. It puts an indicative capital cost range, which I think is really helpful. And then it outlines some of those cost assumptions. So again, it's about I think it really effectively brings together information that means you don't have to go off Googling and searching and kind of not knowing where to start from this. I think it's something you could put into the hands of people who are making these kind of like purchasing decisions or planning on your estates and kind of looking at procuring some of this. So and it's also, because it's just quite pretty because of all the pictures and things like that. So personally, I think it's not as off-putting as some of those resources that we know are kind of loads and loads of text and things like that. So that's the compendium. And then the next one I will show you is a bit of research that's just come out from London School of Economics, their Grantham Research Institute. So it's looking at low emission cooling solutions to extreme heat. So I think for me, it was a bit of a penny drop, I suppose. Like, it makes so much sense that if we're thinking about cooling and responding to extreme heat, we also need to be thinking about the emissions implications and the kind of, what that means for net zero, but also what that means in terms of perhaps unintended consequences of, in other ways, contributing to some of the heat island effects that we see in the city. So there's a range of resources that this piece of research from LSE has put out. They've got a video on screen. I'm not going to play it now, but it's a great accessible summary. Some of their recommendations include focusing on these low emission approaches, which tend to be more kind of passive and about heat risk preparedness, and really emphasising this need to be proactive, because more proactive responses tend to be far lower emission options compared to those that are kind of like in the moment, ramping up their aircon, for example. Within the report that they've produced, you can see the table on the right. I just wanted to draw attention to what it shows. Sorry, the video is kind of covering some of it. But what it does is it categorises the different measures that they consider as low emission cooling solutions. Some of them are institutional measures, some of them are behavioural, some of them are more technical, i.e. kind of like physical measures. It talks about what the long-term planning and preparation is needed for some of these, how you then do that preparation leading up to a heat event, what you would do during a heat event, and then how you might look at kind of monitoring and evaluation of how that solution worked for you. So again, it's like a nice way to kind of break down what some of the key messages and actions would be, particularly around extreme heat in this case. So in this case, we don't, because they're not as interactive, we don't have the kind of like sandbox moment for you here, but I'm going to still put the links in the chat. And what we'll have now, but I guess I'll hand back to Natalie, just because we have a bit of kind of like open time to kind of digest the tools that you